In the summer of 1980, the most powerful technology company on Earth had a problem it couldn't solve. IBM, a company so dominant the government had spent a decade trying to break it up, was secretly racing to build a personal computer in just 12 months. They had the money, they had the engineers. What they didn't have was the software to make it run. So they flew to the suburbs of Seattle and walked into the office of a 24-year-old college dropout with about 40 employees. What happened in that meeting became arguably the greatest business deal of the 20th century. IBM got their software, but buried in the contract was a single clause, a clause IBM barely fought, that would quietly hand this tiny company control of the entire computer industry for the next 30 years. This is the story of how Microsoft got IBM to pay for its own downfall, and how the company Bill Gates built on a $75,000 purchase now makes over $280 billion a year, most of it from something that has nothing to do with Windows. 5 years earlier, none of this existed. In January 1975, a magazine landed on newsstands that would change everything. Popular Electronics, with a boxy machine called the Altair 8800 on the cover, billed as the first mini-computer kit to rival commercial models. It cost $397 and did almost nothing. No screen, no keyboard, just switches and blinking lights. But to a Harvard School Saw friend Paul Allen, those blinking lights were a starting gun. Their insight sounds obvious today, and in 1975 almost nobody held it. The money wouldn't be in the machines. It would be in the software that made machines useful. So they called MITS, the Albuquerque company behind the Altair, and claimed they'd built a version of the BASIC programming language for it. That was not entirely true. They hadn't written a single line. They didn't even have an Altair. Almost nobody did. For 8 weeks, they worked around the clock on Harvard's computers, building BASIC for a machine they had never touched. Using a simulator Allen wrote from the chip's manual. Allen was still finishing the loader code on the flight to Albuquerque to demo it. If they'd made even one wrong assumption about the hardware, it would fail in front of the one customer they had. It ran on the first try. MITS took the deal. Gates left Harvard, and on April 4th, 1975, the two of them founded a little partnership in Albuquerque, New Mexico called Microsoft, with a hyphen. First year's revenue about $16,000. Fast forward to 1980, Bellevue, Washington, successful but small, selling programming languages, doing a few million a year. Then IBM calls. Big Blue's secret skunkworks in Boca Raton project chair has orders to ship a personal computer within a year, and to get there, IBM is doing something it never does, buying parts and software from outsiders. They come to Microsoft for BASIC. Then they ask a fateful question: can you also supply the operating system? Here's the part almost nobody knows. Microsoft didn't have an operating system, and Gates said so. He sent IBM down the road to Digital Research, the company behind CP/M, the industry standard operating system of the day. It was IBM's for the taking. But the meeting went sideways. Accounts differ to this day. Founder Gary Kildall was flying his plane when IBM arrived, and negotiations with the company snagged and IBM's aggressive non-disclosure terms. Whatever exactly happened in Pacific Grove that day, IBM walked away without a deal, and history swung on it. IBM came back to Gates, and this time he didn't send them anywhere. Paul Allen knew a tiny local outfit, Seattle Computer Products, where an engineer named Tim Patterson had written a quick and dirty operating system for the same chip IBM was using. He'd literally called it QDOS, the quick and dirty operating system. Microsoft licensed it and later bought it outright. Total price about $75,000. Seattle Computer Products had no idea who the mystery customer was. Now for the masterstroke. The single clause this entire empire is built on. Microsoft agreed to supply the renamed system, PCDM essentially, for a modest one-time fee, practically a gift. In exchange, Microsoft kept the right to license its own version, MS-DOS, to anyone else. IBM barely fought it. Why would they? IBM believed the money was in the hardware. Nobody at Big Blue imagined there would ever be anyone else. August 12, 1981. The IBM PC launches, and because it's IBM, corporate America buys it without blinking. But IBM had built the machine from off-the-shelf parts, which meant anyone could build one. Within 2 years, companies like Compaq legally reverse-engineered the one proprietary piece IBM kept, and the clone wars began. Hundreds of manufacturers, all building IBM-compatible machines, and every single one of them needed an operating system that ran IBM's software. There was exactly one place to get it. Every clone shipped meant a license fee to Microsoft. IBM had done the marketing, created the standard, and legitimized the personal computer, and Microsoft collected a toll on virtually every machine the entire industry sold. The clone makers competed each other's margins to the bone. Microsoft's margins were untouchable because it sold to all of them. By 1986, Microsoft went public at $21 a share, minting the youngest self-made billionaire in history at the time. Windows arrived, first as a shell on top of DOS, then as the standard itself, same playbook, bigger scale. Own the layer everything else runs on and let other people fight over the hardware. So that's how Microsoft won the PC. But here's the twist. Today, the PC barely matters to them. In fiscal 2025, Microsoft brought in $281.7 billion in revenue. The segment that contains Windows, along with Xbox and Surface, produced less than a fifth of it. The empire Windows built has quietly been replaced by two much bigger machines. Machine 1, subscriptions. Microsoft's productivity division, Office 365, Teams, LinkedIn, pulled in about $121 billion. 30 years ago, you bought Office once, in a box. Now your company rents it, per person, per month, forever. Millions of businesses paying every single month with prices that tick upward, and switching costs so painful almost nobody leaves. Machine 2, the cloud. Azure and Microsoft's server business, about $106 billion, renting computing power to other companies, including a huge share of the AI industry. And look closely and you'll see it's the same move Gates made in 1980. Microsoft doesn't make the products you see. It owns the layer underneath. The infrastructure everyone else has to build on and pay for every month. Add it up, and Microsoft generated about $128 billion of operating profit in a single year. A machine IBM effectively financed 45 years ago with a contract they thought was about a hobbyist computer. Bill Gates didn't invent the operating system. He bought one for $75,000. What he understood before almost anyone is that in technology, the winner isn't whoever builds the best product. It's whoever owns the standard everyone else has to build on and keeps the rights. IBM had every advantage and gave the future away in one clause. Microsoft has spent 45 years running that same play. From DOS to Windows to Office to the cloud your favorite apps run on right now. Next time, a 130-year-old playing card company that nearly died 3 times, ran a taxi service and rented rooms by the hour before a repairman's toy turned it into Nintendo. If you don't want to miss it, you know what to do.